Are you ready? All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. So we've got a lot to go over, and again, Russia says U.S. is responsible for the deadly UKR attack. Of course, Crimea had this event go down. There's lots of videos and angles surfacing of a lot of the different attacks that have just happened in the last 2 days. And of course, Russia said on Sunday that the United States was responsible for the Ukrainian attack on the Russian-annexed Crimean Peninsula with 5 U.S.-supplied missiles that took out at least 5 people, including 3 and injured 124 more. The Russian Defense Ministry said that 4 of the U.S.-delivered Army tactical missile systems, or ATACMS missiles, equipped with cluster warheads, were shot down by air defense systems by the ammunition of a 5th had detonated in mid-air. The ministry said that U.S. specialists had set the missiles' flight coordinates on the basis of information from U.S. spy satellites, meaning that Washington was directly responsible. So they are saying that the U.S. is literally the one who guided it and pulled the trigger, essentially, on this attack on a part of what is now considered Russia. Now, most of us are looking at this and going, well, yeah, that's kind of every attack that's happened in Russia has been the same. But why are they saying it like this, and especially like this right now? It says, quote, responsibility for the deliberate missile attack on the civilians of Sevastopol is borne above all by Washington, which supplied these weapons to UKR, and by the Kiev regime, whose territory they strike was carried out. Again, the United States began supplying UKR with longer-range ATACMS, which have a 300-kilometer range earlier this year. Reuters was unable to immediately verify battlefield reports from either side. Basically, they don't know if any of this is ever true because none of this is ever confirmed. But this is what is being said. Television footage on the Russian state television showed people running from a beach and some people being carried off on sun loungers. Essentially the long, basically the lawn chair things that on the beach. Beach chairs is what we call them. Russian-installed authorities in Crimea said missile fragments had just fallen after noon near a beach on the north side of the city of Sevastopol where locals were holidaying. So it sounds like a holiday from hell. They were on the beach and all of a sudden raining missiles, right? At least that's the picture that they're painting. And they're now saying that we are the painter. So we'll talk about this and much, much more on tonight's show. So stick around. You don't want to miss it. Assange is going home. Who knows how that's going to go if anything happens to him on the way. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about, of course, what China is up to. We're going to talk about the strangeness coming out of North Korea. And we'll also be talking about space and the crazy events happening in the next few months. So you don't want to miss this show. We'll be right back. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We have a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so remember, a full bibliography is available over on our website. All you have to do is go to marfooglenews.com and then find this thumbnail, and it will bring you to a full source list of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to be talking about. That way you know exactly where we got this information from. We do, to the best of our ability, make sure that all of this is as verified as it can be. Obviously, we know that many of these agencies that everybody considers factual are not. So take everything with a grain of salt, especially if it comes from the news. But we're going to talk about the patterns that we're seeing pop out of all of this and so much more. So let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, Dex, do you want to talk your angle on the attack that went on Crimea before we move on?
Yeah, this is getting... So, at one point we were a little concerned about just the fact that they were going to target locations like the early warning systems or fuel refineries or areas like that aren't necessarily targeting them. Then we gave them permission to use our, weapons to go deep or hit anywhere they wanted inside of Russian territory. So that gave us more concern that they would use that and it would draw us in. And that was very likely to be the case. But now what we're seeing is even turning the table and saying, hey, it's not just striking in, but maybe there's going to be a lot of collateral damage, as the term they like to use in wartime events, where, innocent people are traumatized or worse, getting killed and taken out from events like these launches. And when something like that happens, and now it becomes Western equipment being done, it's going to get even worse. And that's what we're seeing here. And I think we don't necessarily have the control over it unless what they're saying is true and that we're the ones programming it. And if that's the case, then yes, all the more reason why Russia should be really mad at the U.S. and pointing the finger back directly at us.
And obviously, if you're not aware of where this is, so of course this is UKR. Crimea was annexed in 2014. Moscow and Russia being up here. Of course, all of this being down here below Ukraine and on the Black Sea. So there's a lot going on down here. We've also been covering a lot of the updates with Romania and all the Baltic states, Poland, and of course all of the places that are kind of preparing like this is about to go way, way out of hand. So again, leave your opinion about this attack down in the comments below, or say hi in the chat. Speaking of which, let's say hello to everybody that made it already. Thank you so much, Genius by Birth, Courtly James. Thank you so much, WIS Jen. Courtly James says, do people really believe that we sent all those missile systems over there and some UKR soldiers are operating them all in English? So they said that they trained people. There's been multiple times with multiple different systems, including the Patriots, where they said that they went somewhere else to train, or they went to Germany or maybe France. There was a couple places. They even said that they brought people here to train at one point, which obviously a lot of people had problems with, because if they're training them here, that's also participating in this whole conflict. And this whole proxy thing, it's like we're directly almost fighting Russia. It's not a usual proxy war where there's two different, Russia is supporting some smaller group that's fighting a smaller group, and we're supporting that other smaller group. It's us directly helping UKR fight Russia. So there's one less middleman. But as we've been saying the last week, I think it's pretty clear that this is a proxy war. It's a proxy war between U.S. and China. China is the real one. China is now funding and sending all their gear to Russia via North Korea. So I think this is a proxy war with China. I think that Russia is one of the middlemen too, which is scary. That's a big middleman and a pretty powerful middleman at that. Hunt Outdoors, nice to see you. Skyson High. We've got Kevin Schmidt, South Central California. What is happening? Bobby Sue, nice to see you. If you guys haven't haven't said hello, make sure to. Bobby Sue is absolutely awesome. Anne Marie, thank you. Sojourner, let's see here. Lori Smith, thank you, thank you, thank you. Tracy Gale, thank you for being here. Jammer1, and Peggy C, retired police officer. Hey, nice to see you. And thank you for your service. Sin Durden, Peggy C, Angela Perfelli. Foogle me this. Tracy Q, William A, nice to see you. Says hi, Marv. Hey, nice to see you too. Rochelle Coakley, John Marciano. Well, it is interesting. I don't know. Again, everybody has their own opinion on what's happening here. I guess I follow the patterns, and I think that, I don't ever claim to have a crystal ball, but I do believe that I was born with the ability to see the patterns, and I think a lot of you were too, and that's why you're here, because one thing or the other is resonating with you about what is happening here. I think one thing that almost every one of us can agree is that we're not being told the full truth. And it's getting really scary. A lot of us with families are really worried about how this could go south. Literally right now could go south. So with everything that's happening, I hope that everybody stays positive, keeps pushing each other up, because we're going to need each other if everything is like we think it is. All right, let's go to the next story. We have Russia warns the U.S. to brace for retaliation. This event caused a echo or a wave that kind of reverberated through everything. And brace for retaliation after, of course, the Kremlin blamed the U.S. for this attack. So what is this attack going to be? What is the tit for tat going to be? We don't know. Everybody is used to just kind of thinking that they're always saber rattling. I think, and I'm not trying to... I'm not trying to upplay Russia or anything, but Russia has had every red line crossed, or at least the ones they've publicly said, and then we have pushed those over. And people think that they're just never going to respond because we're so powerful. They're no limits partners with China. They're partners with all of these other adversarial countries. They're also very, very smart individuals involved here. Putin is not dumb. He was a KGB agent. He was a chess master, which means he does know how to think strategically. And both him and Xi are extremely close now. Xi in his own right, not trying, you have to give credit where credit is due. Xi has kept himself in charge in an entire huge country with 1.4 billion people. He has kept himself at the top of that for a very long time. So both of these gentlemen have basically played their chess game to where they are still in charge. Even if they were some sort of puppet to an oligarch over there or in both countries, they are still the ones at the top of the food chain publicly. So I think that we should really, really not turn a blind eye to comments about retaliation, and we should be looking in the next month of what ends up happening. It may not say Russia on it, but that's what it very well could be. Dex, go ahead.
Well, this is going to be the ultimate test, not just the test from the standpoint that we've seen UKR use our weapons to reach into Russian territory, but the response. If they come out and make a statement like this, like, "Hey, we're going to respond. There will be a retaliation." We got to see what it is. If it's just, taking out a drone or something like that, and something small, which, by the way, there was a rumor that happened today, but it got squashed because everybody's quick to look for what this retaliation is. But, if it's something like that, then it's not going to be, everybody's going to look at them and say, well, that's just not really that strong of a response. And they're going to keep reaching in with the Western weapons and keep reaching in deeper and deeper. If they're really trying to poke the bear and they get the response they want, and I say they want because I think a lot of people are suggesting that there is a orchestration from other powers here that are trying to get something to ramp up bigger than it is. And that's what we got to watch is there's going to be something, but what's it going to be? Is it going to be small and just to prove the point, or is it going to be something, big enough that would warrant us to think twice before we push these Western weapons further into Russian territory, right? That's the real question, and I think that's what he's got to decide. And I say he, Putin, has to decide, like, how far is he going to take this retaliation?
It could also be something that none of the public knows is actually Russia, but the governments do. So the intelligence agencies would know that it was Russia that did it. They might not even say it publicly. There could be something that it hits a huge corporation, a cyber attack in the next month or so. We see some huge system go down, and they say it's because of some sort of update, or it's because of some changeover, or somebody pushed the wrong button. That kind of event. That would be, something I could totally see. Or all the airlines have a nationwide ground stop or a nationwide cellular outage of some sort, and they say that it's not Russia, that it was just, normal. We've seen a lot of these events been happening, and here's my theory, is that if we knew everything that actually happened, and if we knew the truth, then I bet we would see a lot. I mean, we know that China attacks us every day cyberly. Russia does. Iran does. All these places actually do. It's a fact. They have data that backs that up. But I bet there's a bunch of big ones that they have pushed under the rug and said, no, this was us, or this was this. I think in the next month we'll see some sort of big event. It's not going to be world ending, but it could be something like that to basically tell them, like, we could hit you where it hurts, some sort of big message to the U.S. Or, who knows, everything could be completely different than what we think it is. But, will they strike back physically? No. Or it could be like a little lone wolf thing, a lone wolf attack that the public never knows is actually them. They get close to somebody, say, hey, we can get to anybody type of thing. These are the kind of events I think happen all the time, but we just don't find out about. And we probably never will, right? Like not KGB now it's FSB. KGB is now FSB, right? Something like that. Isn't the equivalent of CIA?
I believe that's. Yes, I believe that's correct.
So, an FSB agent getting close to somebody. There was which brings me to remember that wasn't it Russia that had somebody close to the detail of the Prez? Something like that. Like there was somebody that rented a Secret Service house or something. Do you remember that? Maybe it wasn't even Russia. Maybe we don't know who it was. Do you remember when there was a story that there was Secret Service housing in a special apartment building that was for Secret Service, and somehow this guy had gotten a condo there, and he wasn't even Secret Service, and he pretended to be or something like that?
Yeah, he pretended to be. I remember that story.
Yeah,
it was in D.C., wasn't it?
Yeah. Like things like that, you wonder if that was like a little message from somewhere, right? That was somebody like, we can get right next to you, or we could stand right behind you without you even knowing. I'm sure a lot of that kind of stuff happens, and we don't ever find out about it. Truth Iris, wonder that all the time. Mary Gunn, nice to see you, by the way. Michael Kozlow, it was with Prez Bush. No, I don't think it was that long ago, but maybe we found out about it later. I don't know. I think that was, maybe it happened again. I don't know. Angelo Perfelli, yes, they could. Heck, gosh, look at what happened to the former Japanese president. That was rough. That I still think was super, super shady. And who knows what's going to happen now that people can 3D print, bang bangs. Probably get into a lot of places you normally wouldn't be able to get into. And then Russia summons the American ambassador over the attack, which, just to update kind of where that went, the foreign ministry summoned the American ambassador on Monday to protest what it says is the use of a U.S.-made advanced missile in the Ukrainian attack on Russian-annexed Crimea that reportedly took away 4 people's lives and wounded more than 150, which that number keeps changing. It keeps going up. I haven't seen it go down. And then Washington has, quote, effectively become a party to the war on UKR's side. I don't know why they could have said this like 2 years ago. So is there something different about them saying it now? Retaliatory measures will certainly follow. It did not elaborate. Now, I do also wonder about the threats from Iran and things like this. Russia and North Korea are now extremely close. They just signed a new pact, basically saying that if anybody attacks Russia, North Korea is going to be there. If anybody attacks North Korea, Russia is going to be there. So my theory is that North Korea is going to be the trigger of this big weapon, and it's going to start off all of this chain of events. But also Iran. Everybody's talking about the whole Middle East stuff, but Iran still, it bugs me that our former president said they took out Soleimani because Iran had this plan to do something that they said that made 2001 event look like chicken feed, that it was something massive at the same time as this, and they said that they were going to retaliate, right? They already had something that made 2001 event look like chicken feed, and then we took out the number one guy that was going to do that, but the same people are in charge that were telling that said person to do it. So now they're even more pissed because the guy who was running the show just got taken out, and his second-hand man that was his right-hand man, they simultaneously tried to strike both of them. That guy lived. Now, I don't know if he's been taken out ever since, but still, the Ayatollah and everybody else, they don't exactly like us. The Ayatollah even put on his Twitter a video showing the former president getting taken out in Mar-a-Lago. And at the end of the video, it shows a keychain like hanging off of a nuclear button or something, and it shows Soleimani's face. Like they're like, this was our hero. We're going to get back at you. I'm sure Russia and Putin thinks of people like the Ayatollah and goes, hey, you guys, we got a common enemy here. Like, they just did this to us. Can you help us out here? Or, hey, we might want to jump in on that plan, your nationwide plan to hit everywhere. And then in the last 6 months, the FBI and all of these agencies that pretty much nobody believes anymore, they're putting it out there in the open saying there's going to be nationwide events in the United States, and they believe very soon or that this is a big threat to us. And everybody goes, whatever, they're liars. We don't trust them. They shaded us on this. They covered up for Mr. Sun, blah, blah, blah. But they're putting it out in the open. It's right there out in the open. So then later, 10 years from now, after the event all goes down, they can say, well, we told you guys, we were doing our due diligence. We put it out there in the open. So, we're not to blame. We put out the information. But we'll see what happens. But I wonder about with a tit for tat and with them, using some of their closest friends and our extreme adversaries in a time just like right now. Think about when they would do any big event as far as what is going on in the United States right now. When do you think they would kick off something very, very massive? I don't know. But the next 5 months seems like a pretty crazy time to do it. Or say after they pick the next prez, something in that time period, at least January or whenever they switch over, right? If it goes how most people think it will, then a lot of people are going to be angry. If it goes how people don't think it's going to go, then a lot of people are going to be angry. And I don't foresee it just kind of being a calm period. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's see here. Brian Stevens says July 4th. Well, every July 4th is kind of a big worry. Anybody that's ever, we've got a lot of the Fugel fam that are ex-law enforcement. They say every July 4th is just insanely, high alert in the last 20 years since 2001. So, I mean, they already have a lot of worries about July 4th, but I don't know. I don't think it would be a day to tarnish if these T guys wanted to do it. That would definitely be a day that would ruin it for everybody on our Independence Day. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. I do believe that this could save lives. It could get people home, not only during an EMP, but also if a Carrington-level event hits from the sun. An EMP is a question if, right? We don't know if an adversary will do that, but almost all of our adversaries have threatened it or have the capabilities to do it. An EMP, being an electromagnetic pulse, could knock down our entire grid. A single EMP, essentially on the tip of a nuke over, Kansas or somewhere in the middle of the country, could knock down our entire grid and put us into sheer chaos and into the medieval ages. But again, that is an if. That is a thing that lots have threatened, and we don't know if that's going to happen. A Carrington-level event from the sun or a huge CME or a flare coming from the sun that knocks out our grid, Carrington-level event will happen. and it's just a matter of when and if we have everything updated and less vulnerable than we have it now. So if you do want to protect yourself against that, we are now sitting in solar cycle 25, which has been predicted to be the most unpredictable cycle and has shown us that with just last month or the month before having freaking northern lights in Alabama. Then definitely go get yourself an EMP shield. This is a device you can wire into your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, generators, homes, whatever that you want to keep running. They probably make a device for, and it will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. So if you want to be able to get home to your family, if you work far from work, then you definitely want your car to run. If you have a newer car or even a slightly newer car, almost everything has electronics in it. And almost all of the new cars cannot run without them. Everything is digital, even the fuel, everything. The fuel being put into the engine is now digital. So make sure to go check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF to get $50 off and to help support us. We are completely on our own. We're up against behemoths, and we've always had a really awesome audience here to share us out and to get us out to the world. This is just another step that you can protect yourself, not just donate, but to get something out of it that will actually save your life or get you home to your family. So go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. All right, and then Assange is heading home to Australia. This is like, I mean, what do you guys wonder? Before anything else, what do you guys wonder might happen with this whole thing? Do you guys, are some of you afraid that something may accidentally happen, or that there's going to be shirts with a certain saying on it and 6 months from now something didn't themselves? I don't know. That's the thought I have, just because it's like all of this and then he ends up just getting out. Something, what was in that deal that we don't know about? Dex, do you want to talk about Assange and what is happening now?
So apparently he's entered into a plea deal with the U.S. government where he's going to plead guilty to a charge. And it's one count of conspiring to obtain and disclose information related to the national defense. And he's going to do that in a U.S. federal court in Sapien in the Northern Mariana Islands, a U.S. Commonwealth in the Pacific this week. So apparently the deal is if he'll do that, then he is free. Free because he spent 5 years in prison in London or in England, and they're going to count that, I guess, as part of the deal. So the 5-year term. So allegedly, so this is all breaking like tonight. So a lot of this is still loose and we're getting the information, but even allegedly, I think you got a photo you can show where they have claimed he has actually boarded a plane, and some are saying he boarded a plane back to Australia. That's what we think, but we don't know for sure. But we do know that the media over there has reported this photo and other photos like it, that is Assange boarding a plane. So now if he's heading to this location to do this plea deal, or if he's heading to home to then go to that location to do a plea deal, we don't know. But apparently he's free, and that's what they're reporting. He is going to be free after this. I'm just wondering, like, who, on the one side you're questioning, like, how much longer will he be around, or the other side is, what's he been holding in his pocket, and does he have something else that's going to come out? Maybe not against the government, but maybe against other people. High profile people. I don't know. Or is he just going to go home, be happy to be free, and maybe be quiet for a little while? We'll see. I have a sneaking suspicion, though, he's not going to just rest on his laurels and do nothing.
I don't think he can really fit much in those pockets. They're dad jeans. So we'll see, I guess. And of course, we have ransomware group threatens Federal Reserve, claims it hacked America's banking secrets. Now, this is an exciting one for most people that have, if you've watched Mr. Robot, like, it makes you wonder if something like that will ever happen. Or what if somebody hacked the system completely and erased everyone's debt, like in Mr. Robot? Crazy thought. But as far as the banking secrets, how many of you, just put in the chat yes or no, do you think that there is corruption in all of the levels of banking? Yes or no? And do you think that this is, I mean, like, think about the secrets that are there. Do you think they have some nasty secrets that we don't want out there? I think it's unanimous. Yep, it's unanimous. That's a big yes. Absolutely yes. This 3-horse, Doris Smith, genius. Buck, Mr. Fiden, yes. I mean, it's pretty clear, right? We all know this, but the same would be for a question about the politicians. Like, do they all have skeletons, and are they all paid off? Yep. So it's pretty unanimous. The corrupt child, that's a good one. Paranormal bike. Why would they lie to us? They are here to help. Yeah. But did it actually hack America's secrets? The ransomware group known as Lockbit claimed to have hacked the Federal Reserve Bank, and it says it will release 33 terabytes of sensitive data on Tuesday. Oh, and I'm sure everybody's like, 33, really? In a post to the dark web this week, which, again, I don't know how many... I only had one experience where somebody showed me the craziness of it, and it's like, I don't know how many people even can access it. So I don't know where these posts happens, but I've seen this in the news so much in the last 6 months that there's been posts to the dark web. The criminal organization alleged that it had been in talks with the banks in order to secure a ransom in exchange for keeping the data private. 33 terabytes of juicy banking information containing Americans' banking secrets, the group wrote, says you better hire another negotiator within 48 hours or fire this clinical idiot who thinks Americans' bank secrecy or values Americans' bank secrecy at $50,000. What if there was somebody and say this contained all of our secrets, right? Everybody's banking stuff, everybody's information. What if this contained just everybody? And some negotiators, talking with these guys and seriously values it at like $50,000. That's some scary stuff. Lockbit rose to the prominence in 2019 in bringing in millions of dollars in ransom payments, and although the group's online infrastructure was shuttered by the FBI and other law enforcement agency in February, Lockbit has managed to reemerge and continue its operation. Now, does anybody have suspicions about the fact that this was shut down by the feds and now has reemerged? Now, I'm not saying that it is, but have we not noticed that a lot of these groups, anonymous ones, like the, anonymous, shut down now? Go look at their Twitter. They're definitely a biased thing, an entity, right? I don't know. And I'm not talking about all of the people that were ever involved, because I'm sure they're everywhere. They could be next to you on the bus. They could be your coworker at work. They could be everybody, right? And that was the whole point. But after these events, all of a sudden they, it changes. It's different. Lockbit, which did this, this is a big deal. If they did get this, that's a scary, scary day in cybersecurity. Experts, however, are skeptical of the claims regarding the Federal Reserve and note that Lockbit has not released any sample data. I don't think anybody wants them to, but the Daily Dot reached out to the Federal Reserve to confirm whether Lockbit's claims are true, but did not receive a reply. So that's not a good sign either. The fact that they didn't reply to this. Dex, so they didn't make a comment. They didn't say no comment. They just didn't reply. So is it because,
Exactly.
This is so below us, or they're in crisis mode, and they probably have a whole team together going, what do we say about this? And they're trying to put together some sort of PR team or something to figure out what they're going to do.
Exactly. And the comment about the $50,000 and a negotiator, that makes it sound like there is a negotiator that was already talking to them. So, that's a valid question to ask, is like, well, if you've got a negotiator talking to them, now, of course, that's the other side saying it. There's no proof. We don't know. But you think they would easily just jump up and say, no, we got nobody negotiating 50,000 or 50 million or whatever they may be asking for.
One of the quotes, it says, is if Lockbit ransomware group actually ransomed the United States Federal Reserve, it would be DEFCON 2, and the administrators would need to worry about a drone strike. I mean, I don't know. The scary part is something like this I would not be surprised by, and this would be, I don't know, how bad would this be? Could this be as bad as a grid down? Like, what if something happens to our banking systems to where our entire dollar collapses or something? Or if so much information is put out that every country in the world loses faith in us? What if they put out secrets that say that somehow they have information that shows that all of the money's gone, or that we don't actually have the gold that the world thinks we have, or some, I don't know. Do you know what I mean, Dex? Like, I don't know how all the Federal Reserve works.
Yeah. Hey, there's no telling what's in there if there is something to be had. But yeah, I just, it would be huge. It would be massive if they actually have what they say they have. And I guess that's, but flip that around. If it's true and they actually have something that big, do you think the federal government or the Reserve Bank would even come out and admit to it right now? Do you think they would publicly announce that? Like, how bad would it look on their part that they were hacked?
And it says, given that Lockbit claims that the data will be published on Tuesday, so we're talking about, in depending on what time zone, we're talking about, tomorrow. It says, assuming the Federal Reserve doesn't pay the alleged ransom, it won't be long until everybody's questions are answered. So it could be today, tomorrow, whenever that this all happens. And it says, just last month, the UK's National Crime Agency revealed that the alleged identity of Lockbit's leader, the man, Russian national Dmitry Khrushchev, has since been sanctioned by the U.S., and they've put a $10 million information reward leading to the arrest and the conviction of Khrushchev. So if they're really offering $50,000 but $10 million to find him, maybe that's part of the whole game here. But I don't know. For how much money we just send everywhere to anybody, man, if they truly could just grab that information and put it back, hopefully this does happen, because I'm not really looking forward to an entire collapse or something that massively affects our economy right now. It's already really bad, and most of us are just trying to get by. But who knows? What if? Let me ask you guys this: what if the information in within totally took down all of the corruption, like just put all the corruption out there, and we had to go through 1, 2, 3 years of just like complete hell for everything to be put back together again and be right this time? That would be hypothetically saying that it came back together. What if, let's say hypothetically, it actually did help, but we had to go through 3-5 years of hell or something, and basically our entire country falls apart, but in 5 years from now, everything would be fixed and all the corruption would be aired out, and we'd still be number one, and we'd be more powerful than we ever were. It's definitely a hypothetical, because I don't think that would happen, and I don't think if we collapsed that it would come back. But what if that was the case? Would you be down to go through 5 years of hell to have, I don't know, some semblance of the kind of Constitution back where it was intact? I don't know. And then let's see here. U.S. Navy carrier strike group is headed home after months battling the Houthis in the Red Sea. So they are being replaced by the Roosevelt, it's not like they're leaving and it's done. They're going home, and the Theodore Roosevelt is taking their place. They've been defending over there and, of course, placed there. But of course, we cover all of the different deployments. Any public deployments are here. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, which I know that there's a chunk of you that don't subscribe and you say, oh, well, they pop up in our home feed anyways, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to all. Very, very important, especially going forward as we get closer to pick the Prez Day. So make sure to do so. But the Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group left the Middle East on Saturday and will remain briefly in the U.S. European Command area of responsibility before returning stateside. It will not see its deployment extended for a third time. The departure follows more than 7 months deployed in support of U.S. regional deterrence and force protection efforts. The USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group, operating in the Indo-Pacific region, will soon head to the Middle East to replace the strike group. Eisenhower Strike Group, which consists of the aircraft carrier Ike and several other warships, originally deployed to Eastern Mediterranean in October, but was quickly redirected to the Middle East to defend shipping lanes from unrelenting Houthi attacks. Since then, the Eisenhower Strike Group has intercepted scores of missiles and drones, both in the air and water, and has also targeted rebels directly in Yemen. So, Dex, also, I didn't see any... I thought I saw a side theory about this, that maybe that they potentially were secretly hit or something and they needed to go back for repairs. I saw somebody thinking that they might be like hit and they're trying to cover it up or something. I didn't see any kind of thing that would back that up, besides some other stories about other ships kind of possibly getting hit. But also, will this leave them open for a minute? Will there be a period where the Dwight D. Eisenhower is gone and the Theodore Roosevelt is on its way? Could something big happen there during that time period? Is this leaving a gap in security?
That's a good question. I don't know if we have other ships deployed there that are not part of a carrier strike group. I know we have some amphibious carriers and others that have been in and around those regions at the time that might be able to handle this. But it also sounds to me like the speed at which they're moving out, the other one's moving in because it's coming in from the Indo-Pacific region. So it may be near that area. I don't know how long it's supposed to take. They didn't actually tell us that, right? So there may be a gap. And it may be a gap in which we're only protecting it with, smaller ships at the moment. And we do have Coast Guard vessels that are even over there too, right? We've heard about those reports. So we do have some other ships, that's for sure. But not as large as a full-on carrier strike group.
I just wonder if this leaves some door open and some big event happens in the ocean, or I'm sorry, in the Black Sea or in one of these places, and something gets hit, and a major ship or something gets hit, and it's not protected for some reason. They're gone. There's a gap, and some big Fantastic Freddy kind of thing happens. Hopefully not, though. Before we move on, real big thank you. Thank you, Genius by Birth. Thank you not only for your comment, but for also being so awesome to the audience too. Thank you for gifting memberships to other folks, and thank you in general. Says 18.6 year cycle for the lunar standstill. They align with financial crisis historically. They last about 2 years. We had one start on 6/20/24. And it will peak January 25th. It's just too weird. Donut did a show on it. I will have to check that out. I have not seen Donut's show on that. I haven't had time to watch many of the people. I do think he goes deep dive. In fact, I bet you he's going to notice that there's 33 terabytes. Lord McCormick, UK News, all up. Bob, Prince Hassan falling off her horse. LOL. Oh, UK News is all about Prince Sassann Shashan falling off her horse. Nothing on UK rain. Oh, on Ukraine. LOL. It's so obvious. Public be left dark on the facts. Yes. I don't know if I bet the platform was trying to give you trouble saying half of that. So that was good. Yeah. Well, I mean, when does it ever cover the stuff we really want to hear about? It's pretty bad. And then Carlton Sutton, thank you. Stephen McMahon, thank you. Andrew Golden, I appreciate you. Thank you for your support this week. Kat, Merlin, Gillian Mason, and let's see her, Linda C. and Jen. And by the way, while we have a chance, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/friends. All of our awesome mods are down in the chat trying to help out, and they keep it positive. And again, these are all great people. They're all great creators. They're all great authors. In the case of Chance actually has books over on Amazon. If you go click that Amazon link, you'll be brought to all of his books. He is an author. Again, always putting new stuff out, so make sure to go check them out. And then, of course, Ilea and Trinity, Red or Blue Pill Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog here puts hours into their videos. Wages World, again, really, really awesome people, so make sure to go check all of them out. Wages is covering all of the solar events. If you are worried about the solar events or want to follow it closely, Wages is the best channel. If something happens at 3 a.m, he has alarms set to that stuff. He will let you know about that. So, again, very, very good channel for solar events. All right, and back to the map. Let's talk about top secret U.S. undersea drone weapon dubbed the Manta Ray, spotted on Google Maps. It's super weird though how it looks, Dex. It looks like it's almost photoshopped in, but I did see just the other day they had photos of this thing like right below the surface of the water. I would be terrified if I saw this thing underneath me because it looks like an animal when it's underwater. It looks like a manta ray, but it's the size of a bus. I mean, look at it next to this Coast Guard. This is, to put this in perspective, if you've ever seen that movie with Tom Hanks, he gets kidnapped on a cargo ship. I forget what that's called, but this is the kind of boat that is, like one of those emergency boats. And this thing's right next to it. It's almost as long from tip to tip of the wing. Dex, this thing's freaky looking. Looks like a UFO.
Yeah, it is. And in the article, I think there's another picture that is the one you're describing, which is underwater, that view that everybody's seen when it first came out of the ray. But it almost looks, you could even say that this might, to some, if they didn't know this existed and saw it in the water, would think it was alien, like, a foreign craft of some sort, because it is kind of odd shaped, and it definitely looks like a ray. But yeah, that thing's been spotted. They say they're scrubbing it, but I don't know why they say scrub it, because it's still there. I mean, we just showed it to you on Earth, and I went and looked on Google Maps, and it was still there too. So I don't know how much scrubbing they're doing. Maybe they're just trying to scrub some of the other information. But I mean, obviously, this is one of the top secret devices that they're building, and you can't go park it out in public and expect it not to be seen. So I think if they needed it to be undercover, they would have docked it under a covered dock.
Yeah, large payload capacity. So this thing, who knows the things it could be used for, and I bet it can go a lot faster than a lot of surface boats. I don't know how fast this thing goes, but you would think something like this could glide through the water super, super fast. I wonder if they could actually move cargo with things like this. Giant manta ray designs going super, super long range with a huge cargo inside. And also, could they use this? Could they end up making a much bigger version and launch nukes out of something like this? I mean, it would have to be massive to be able to hold something like that. Maybe not so massive if it was just carrying regular sea-launched missiles, but what a crazy-looking thing. And they say it's actually energy efficient. All designed after a real manta ray. Almost all of the coolest transportation things that we have on Earth are all designed off of, the generic shape of an animal or a sea animal. It's pretty cool. And then Putin planning military coalition to rival NATO. I called this, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I said that when all of them started working together, I said it's like they're coming up with their version of NATO. it's exactly what they're calling it now. It's pretty easy to see, though. Like, everybody should have seen this a long time ago. Dex, do you want to talk about what Vladimir is planning with this whole kind of their own version of NATO?
Yeah, certainly. So the rhetoric from Putin about the Eurasian Security Coalition is part of a Kremlin plan to create a group of Moscow-friendly countries to rival the West and NATO. This is coming out of the Institute for the Study of War. You know, we've covered them quite a bit. They're a big think tank. They do a lot of this analysis and create reports about what they think is happening with the different leaders, or specifically have done quite a bit on Russia over the past couple of years. So, but the assessment by the DC think tank follows Putin's visit to North Korea, which one international security expert said was deepened and already intensifying relationship of convenience, which of course we know that, we've said that. Putin said on Friday, Moscow is ready to discuss Euro-Asian security issues with the Russian and Chinese-led Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or the SCO, the Moscow-led Commonwealth of Institute States, the CIS, and the Eurasian Economic Union, the EAEU, as well as, of course, BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the United Arab Emirates. So putting all those together and being able to have cooperative discussions with those certainly could allow them to create a opposite to NATO, or an alliance, which is what we keep talking about, that the world now is basically getting divided across one line, and you've got one side, the West, NATO, and you've got the other side,
Picking
BRICS,
sides.
picking sides, BRIC nations, Russian nations, China, alliance. Any of those countries that all line up through there are all starting to fall on one side or the other.
And as we know, SCO, which is also basically the whole thing is China, that also includes India. The BRICS also includes India. I've been talking about India because they have 1.4 billion people in their country. They've been it's awfully quiet hearing about India, but will India end up on the same side as China? Well, we know that India and Russia are allies. This is a scary thought because they also possess a very powerful military. I mean, much more powerful than, say, a smaller country. And they have a huge, pool of man. So I think that obviously they don't get along with China, but what if something was worked out along those lines? What if the main reason that China and India do not get along, what if that was solved? What if China says, well, we've got bigger goals, we have bigger things than what we've been fighting over for a very long time, which is a border dispute and other things. What if they just said, you know what, you have it, or, this area is yours now, and they say, yeah, we'll lose that, but we'll get all of this. What if India is secretly tired of the U.S. or something? I don't know. But they've done a lot of things where they're kind of playing both sides. And obviously they even did a military drill. They did a Navy drill with Russia where China was present as well. And as we hear, it was like India and China were at each other's necks. They were in the Himalayas. They even, at one point, 20 Indian soldiers perished being thrown off the side of the Himalayas. Apparently all these soldiers were unarmed, but they were like, I don't know if they were peacekeepers, but they were soldiers that didn't have weapons. They bare-knuckle fought on the side of the Himalayas, and they were pushing each other off. 20 Indian soldiers perished from what they said. China didn't declare their numbers. After that, shortly after that, there has always been these mobile kind of setups of barracks and places on the border because they're both fighting over the same area of border with the Himalayas and all of that. And they've always had, both sides have had mobile kind of command centers in these places. Well, shortly after that, satellite photos showed that both sides had these disappear. What ended up happening? Why did that happen? Why did both sides kind of like all of a sudden they cleared off? Did they end up having a meeting after that whole throwing of people off the sides and they said, "Hey, let's work something out"? I don't know, but I have a gut feeling that India is not going to be on our side. What if we are surprised and India is not on the side of the U.S.? I mean, heck, they're also one of the main nations that is joining this BRICS thing. All of these other names are not on our side. Look at South Africa. The South African president's been chummy with Putin. All of these countries have United Arab Emirates, and then look at how the Middle East and some of the oil countries are not answering the call of the U.S., but they're rolling out the red carpet for Xi. I don't know. If you look at the names listed there, it really seems like India might be a part of that. Dex, go ahead.
Well, what if they played a different? What if they sat out? Like, what if they just said, "Hey, we're going to play both sides," which is what they do today, but then they sit out, and then the U.S. and China goes at it with Russia, and Russia, U.S. and China all fall down to some level, and then India is sitting there with a decent GDP. I mean, they're the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th GDP, I believe. But they're the largest country. They just surpassed China in population, and they're still growing, unlike China. So I don't know. Maybe they're trying to play a long game here.
I don't know. It's crazy that they surpassed, and China apparently is going to have some sort of crazy population thing as well. We talked about that. It is crazy that everybody now. Did you guys see that a lot of these news stations are also talking about population collapse now? And 3 or 4 years ago, everybody that was talking about this, "Oh, what are you talking about? We're overpopulated." Now they're talking about how many people are in adult diapers versus baby diapers. And I've seen CNN, I've seen Fox, I've seen all these MSNBC. All of them are doing pieces on how, actually the population's it might actually have huge issues in the future. It's like, that was seen as public, like, no, what are you talking about? There's too many people on Earth. Now, there's apparently going to be huge issues. And it keeps bringing me back to that comment by Mr. Gates in the TED Talk when he says, if we do a really good job with certain things, if we do a really, really fantastic jobs, we can bring that down about 15%, 10%. And he even adds in, if we really do good jobs with the then, we could bring that down. It's like, how does that bring it down, right? And then culturally, look at what's happening. I would think the culture changes right now that are happening, regardless if you agree or disagree with them, it's common sense that if these culture changes happen and keep happening and at the crazy rate they are, I mean, they say 25% of all people in this next generation are declaring that they are something or something else, then less people are going to have the normal idea of children. And then everybody in our generation is going to get old, retire, but who is going to be the generation that's going to help us when we are all, in nursing homes? It's a crazy, crazy thing. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. I feel that this is a really important thing, especially if you are a caregiver, if somebody in your family, if you have elderly in your family, if they take regular medication or you take regular medications, then this is definitely something to look into. It's very easy to go over to marfooglenews.com/Jace to find out more. But this is a company that you can go get a board-certified doctor telehealth appointment, essentially get a Jace case, which has emergency antibiotics. In fact, I had my foot, by the way, to update you guys, my foot is better. I had to go to the ER to get antibiotics because I got a piece of glass jammed up in my foot. I tried to take out the glass, and in that process, I sterilized everything, but I guess it didn't do that great of a job. Dad, insult to injury, a day after it got bad, before I went to the ER, I ended up stubbing and shattering my 2 pinky toes, so my foot's just all messed up. But I ended up having to go to the ER for something simple, and basically I knew what it was. I knew what was going on. They quickly said, yep, you need some antibiotics. If you want to have some on hand, this is a really, really great service. You can get something like the Jace case, which has basically preset amount of antibiotics that you can keep aside. You've got that kit, because something like that, a cut on your toe, could literally turn into an infection that ends up taking you out. So these are really, really important things that if you are able to have them on hand, it's great. Otherwise, you can be like me and go to the ER. But again, what happens when there is no ER? That's what most preppers think about, is what if there is no ER? What if the pharmacies get hacked like they did a couple months ago, and 8,000 pharmacies, or actually it was 30,000 pharmacies, were down, some for as long as a week. So this is a great thing. And again, you get a discount by doing it, by using the code MARF, and you help our channel out at the same time. They also have something called Jace Daily, though. That's a really cool thing, because you can get a 12-month extended supply of medications. Now, it's only certain medications, and again, you can't get certain stuff there, but there are a lot on there that you can get. And that's a really, really handy thing, especially say tomorrow something happens and there won't be a pharmacy for who knows how long. Then you'll have a year of backup medication that you can use. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. Make sure to use the code MARF. And also look at all of the different things you can add on to the Jace case, by the way. Things like albuterol. But again, go learn more. Make sure to thoroughly look at what they offer and what may help you. All right, and then let's talk about China. Coast Guard drove away Japanese boats near disputed islands. So now it's not just of course all the stuff going on with the Philippines, and you've got all these other kind of tit for tat events. Now it's starting to get Japanese Navy involved, which they were a defensive Navy. Now they're becoming an offensive Navy, so maybe they might clap back at them. Dex, do you want to talk about what happened with China's Coast Guard and Japanese Navy?
Yeah, certainly. The Diaoyu Islands, which we've talked about, have been disputed for a long time between both China and Japan. Japan calls them the Senkaku Islands, and that's their name for it. It's their territory as they claim it, and China calls it the Diaoyu Islands, which is what they claim it to be. We talked recently about the fact that they have had some skirmishes there. Well, what happened over the last 4 days was the Coast Guard has come in and pushed off everyone, including Japanese fishing vessels and several Japanese patrol boats, which had entered into those territorial waters.
Dex, I should chime in. I don't know if I don't think it ever mentions Navy, so it could be Coast Guard or patrol boats. So I just want to make my own correction, because I said Japanese Navy, fishing vessels and patrol boats, which could be Navy, but we don't know that.
We're not sure. Yeah, exactly. We don't know, but patrol boats, assumably not, civilian patrols, right? But we know that they're going into those waters to, maintain their claim. They have been doing that. Even the U.S. at one point had brought a ship in as part of that. I believe we had covered that many months ago, talking about how part of what we were doing was going, I don't know if it was these islands or one of the other contested Japanese islands. It was rather close to Taiwan. If you look at the map, you see Japan swoops down, but then there's these little tiny islands you can barely see on a map. They all go all the way out towards Taiwan. So obviously, as close to Taiwan as it is, that gives you at least the understanding of why China might suggest that these locations are potentially theirs. But all of these islands all the way down towards Taiwan. So anyway, the big deal is we're seeing another escalation, just like we've seen in the south with the Philippines and the South China Sea. This case, the escalation is with Japan. At this point, it's just fishing vessels and patrol boats. We don't know what greater level of detail that these patrol boats are, but China has been using the force of their Coast Guard to push them out.
I also didn't realize until, I think it was last year when we started doing the maps, we covered a story. I didn't realize Okinawa was so far off the mainland of Japan. There's Okinawa there, obviously highly involved in World War II. This whole area, this could be just this huge kind of battle line. If this war goes how many think it's going to go, including myself, this whole place is going to be on fire, which is a scary thought. And we have Chinese hackers have stepped up attacks on Taiwanese organizations, a cybersecurity firm says. This isn't a surprise. They have actually done several cyber attacks on Taiwan over the past year and a half. Especially, it's kicked up. We've covered many of these, including strange things that weren't exactly said that it was China, but everybody's like, kind of looks like it was them. Even a couple times where like a lot of their webcams went out and things, and you wonder who did it, right? Their underwater cables have been accidentally taken out by Chinese commercial vessels and all sorts of things. But now they're saying that China is actually attacking them at a crazy pace. I guess no one should be surprised by that. But is it the exact truth? We don't 100% know. The suspected Chinese state-sponsored hacking group has stepped up its targeting of Taiwanese organizations, particularly those in sectors such as government, education, technology, and diplomacy, according to cybersecurity intelligence company Recorded Future. In recent years, relations between China and Taiwan, a self-governed island across the Taiwan Strait that Beijing claims as its territory, have deteriorated. Well, no duh. The cyber attacks by the group known as Red Juliet were observed between November 23 and April of 24 during the lead-up to Taiwan's Prez-picking day in January and the subsequent change in administration. Red Juliet has targeted organizations in the past in Taiwan, and this is the first time that the activity was seen at such a scale, Recorded Future analyst said, speaking on the condition of anonymity. So essentially they're saying that they're kicking it up a notch. I totally think that they are probably hacking them just the same as they were hacking the U.S. and every other adversary of theirs. China, the one thing that they are known for is infiltration and espionage and information and IP thievery. So it says that they've also hacked into the websites of religious organizations in Hong Kong and South Korea, a U.S. university in Djiboutian. Is that really the plural? Or if you're from Djibouti, you are a Djiboutian? You're Djiboutian. University, the report did not identify organizations. Recorded Future said Red Juliet accessed the servers of those places via a vulnerability in their Soft Ether Enterprise virtual private network, or VPN software, an open source VPN that allows remote connections to an organization's networks. Dex, how did that work? What do they mean by when they went in and went through their VPN? So it was a location that is part of a VPN, and they got in through that? How does that work?
Well, it sounds like there were vulnerabilities in the software, the VPN software they were using. So that was the backdoor that they used. So they found those backdoors. It could be any number of different pieces of software they may be using in their network, but a VPN is pretty common. It's sort of like the secure layer. It's kind of like the VPNs we would use as consumers to hide from our ISP and from any other person to see what it is we're doing. When we're online, we connect to a VPN and we have a secure connection there and hide our IP address.
Is Soft Ether the brand?
Yeah, that would be the brand of the enterprise VPN software that had some sort of vulnerability in it that was exploited. I'm sure they patched those things, but when it's open, or if maybe it wasn't patched, that's how it was used.
And Red Juliet has been observed attempting to break into systems of more than 70 Taiwanese organizations, including 3 universities. One thing I think of, too, is this is a place they are trying to invade. They're going to invade it. At least that's what they have said. That it's a guarantee. They're going to go and take it at some point, whether it's with shots fired or without. Look at what they're doing to the U.S. Look at how much hacking that they are doing towards us. Seems like, it makes you wonder what is their end goal with the U.S., with all of this stuff going on, with all the people coming in, with all of the work being done, with all of the adversaries of the U.S.? Makes you wonder if there's some sort of Red Dawn-ish scenario happening right now. But we can only wonder, right? And then China is greenlighting possible death penalties for diehard supporters of Taiwan gaining independence. Over the last 2 days, there's been a lot of news regarding this. It's pretty up there with extreme decisions if this all goes down. China on Friday outlined a list of behaviors that it defines criminal acts related to supported Taiwan's independence, saying punishments may go as far as they off you. Top legal bodies in the country, including its Supreme Court, National Prosecutor, and the 3 government ministries, jointly issued a statement telling courts and prosecutors at all levels in China to, quote, severely punish Taiwan independence diehards. This is one reason I hope that they are never the number one country in the world. And gosh, if we are to believe even a third of, or even a tenth of what some of the crazy expert kind of talking heads say about China and the U.S. and them, being at par with the U.S. in the next 5 years and even, surpassing us at some point. I hope that never happens. And who knows? Maybe that's why this is all about to go down, because it's about to be decided who's going to be continuing to be number one and who's not. But these are China's first official guidelines designating support for Taiwan's independence as a crime, underscoring how Beijing is hardening its stance towards the self-governed island. So, I guess we'll find out. If they really do this, that's insane. But that's why I would rather not have Xi as my prez. And then leader of NATO member Poland visits China, expecting to talk to Xi about UKR. And I like how they say expecting to talk. What's crazy is what is it? What's his face? The guy from California, Governor Newsom, got like a ride. You know what's funny is Governor Newsom had a scene. It was almost identical to how Kim Jong-un and Putin were driving the brand new luxury Russian car, and they were I think it was Russian car. They were driving their car, and everybody is over the last few days said that they were having a blast and they were BFFs and all that, and wholesome moments with Putin and Kim. Newsom had a very similar experience when he went to China. He talked to the president Xi and they had a couple days together, it sounds like. But yet when we had major politicians there, they went nowhere near the president. When the president came here, we rolled out the red carpet for Xi, even flew in people and had people bring in Chinese flags and cleaned up San Francisco. Something that activists in San Francisco were cheering for years, couldn't get done. Xi visits, overnight the damn place was clean as a whistle. The homeless were gone. They cleared out the whole area, which, by the way, I've heard that area is now dirty again, back to how it was or close. And but we've sent major politicians there. They never get to talk to Xi. So, Dex, what do you think about this? Like, I don't know. What if they don't actually get to talk to Xi? I mean, that's pretty telling, right?
Well, it is, but I think he's scheduled to meet with him. So I think he's expecting. He wants, expecting to talk about that topic. He did say, I'm trying to maintain friendly relations with China. Poland has always had decent relations with China, and I would like that to be continued. That was coming from the president of Poland, President Duda. And they also asked him if he thought that China was holding the key to peace in the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and Duda said, yeah, I think that to a larger degree, yes. So to the extent that I got to believe in the fact that, as we've been saying, Russia's being propped up by China in the sense that the sanctions are there, but China's allowing them to avoid it, which is allowing Russia to be fully funded and allowing money to flow, and the manufacturing for all the war equipment to continue, and the purchasing, or having money to purchase war equipment from Iran or from North Korea, as we know they've done. So China is really the key here, at least to the survivability of Russia as it relates to this conflict.
And they're admitting it. It's like every time, it's like our community will state the obvious, and nobody will say it. Then all of a sudden, it's like everybody then. It's like weeks later, months later, everybody admits what this community knew the whole time. That's why I said this is a proxy war with China. This is a proxy war with China. Ukraine and Russia are the pawns. China and the U.S. are the ones that are at this proxy war. Now with us directly funding, with NATO funding Ukraine, and China directly funding North Korea and Russia, this is a proxy war. Only this one is really, really scary, because the lower end of this is Russia. And all of a sudden, I mean, like China wants, we want peace, but yet they're a huge part of this. Them saying that. I think that to a large degree. Basically, if they get China to say so, then the Russian-Ukraine war will stop. I mean, I guess it's kind of the same way if you look at it. Ukraine would lose if NATO and the U.S. didn't step in. I think that's a fact, but I don't know if that's... I don't think the fact checkers would say that. I mean, what would they do? They're already running out of people. And if they didn't have jets, they don't even have jet. They don't have their own air force that is capable of fighting anywhere near a Russian enemy. They didn't have the tanks they needed. They didn't have the defense systems. They didn't have any of that. If we would have never stepped in, Ukraine would be Russia, or at least a chunk of it would have been. But would have even happened if was Russia telling the truth? Now, I say this, there was just a huge poll done. Kim.com did this huge, and I say huge because I think tens of thousands voted on it. They said, do you believe Vladimir Putin or Western leaders? It was like 96% said they believed Vladimir Putin over Western leaders. Like, where are we at in the world where more people are believing Vladimir Putin than our own leaders? It shows you where we're at. And there's this whole side thing that I see, like people are torn. They're like, well, I'm proud to be American. But at the same time, people aren't trusting of our own leaders right now, to the point where I do believe you can be proud to be American, you can be proud, but not be proud of what's going on up above us. Like, I think everybody should be asking questions right now. But the other thing is that Putin is saying these things out in public and making all these comments. It also adds to it that, like, Tucker went there, and everybody's got this idea that Vlad's the good guy. I don't think Vlad's a good guy. But what if it is true that Vlad wouldn't have actually done this if NATO said, absolutely, I'm never, ever going to be in NATO? I don't know. Now that I know that there's $10 to $12 trillion worth of resources there, this is probably whoever first gets to these resources is going to be in charge. What if Russia is actually doing this for China, and China's like, hey, you got to get in there. There's lithium and all these other minerals that we need to keep to put a monopoly of lithium and all of this in the future. Everything's going electric, right? Well, what if that's the case? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Lord McCormick, thank you again for your support. Craig Alicious, Genius by Birth, Stephen McMahon, Andrew Gold, Merlin, and the Fae King's Crown. Thank you, NJM. Thank you so much. Grace for you too this week. Ray Day, thank you. Viv B, Tammy, Josh P, Danish girl, hope you are doing good today. Kenny Cams, Colleen Wash, Olga Tehran, and Pawn Shop Rare. Thank you guys. Josh P, Carlton Sutton, and Sweatin' Ministries. I hope you're doing well. Hopefully, you're probably at work by now, but Parker Craft and everyone else that has popped in. Stephen McMahon, you're probably popping out of here too at some point. Thank you guys. And what do you think about this? Or is there going to be some secret espionage stuff going on and somebody's going to turn on us last second? I don't know. And then parasites detected in North Korea trash balloons. Parasites? Weird. Dex, do you want to talk about the parasites that were detected in some of the trash-laden balloons sent by North Korea?
On one hand, I want to say, well, no kidding. They filled them full of poopy diapers and sent them over, or other, laden them with other feces or whatnot. But they're basically saying that they've tested some of them and they found parasites such as roundworms and whipworms and threadworms, and it was all contained in the soil, the trash that was in those balloons that were carried over. So I don't know if they're, trying to conflate this a little bit, pun intended, with the balloon reference there, but it definitely seems like, I don't know. Like, I'd be more worried about what's happening at the actual border, with the wall being built, with the fortifications going in, with the recent rounds being discharged and the lives being lost in the landmines now as they're all skirmishing around the DMZ in preparation for a conflict. Certainly one could be said, we should be worried about these, parasites coming across in the balloons. But I got to believe there's a lot more sinister problems than some poopy balloons.
It would almost
to what's on the other side.
It would almost seem like there's also a secondary thing here where you think, oh, whatever poo this came out of is like having issues, or the people there are unhealthy and have all of these things in their poo. Or are they trying to say that they put these in there and launched it over thinking that it was going to do harm? Like, if you see a poopy thing on the ground, like, are you going to put it up and pick it up and, grab it and fidget spinner it? I don't know. Like, I guess they're low on news, I guess. I don't know. And then they ended up sending stuff back. I forget what the South Koreans sent back, but wasn't it like pamphlets and, but then now
and then they got into the loudspeakers again. They started putting those back up.
K-pop. But also, aren't they, didn't they do some sort of temporary agreement not to do both? I know they used to have an agreement not to do that.
Yeah, they had an agreement to stop it, and then that was why the balloons came over, because they apparently had started doing it again, even though they had agreed to stop it. So, I don't know who started it, but it sounds like to the north, the south started it after the agreement, probably with the loudspeakers. So they sent the balloons over.
Huh. And there's the DMZ, the divider between. They've had several issues over the last couple, 3 weeks or 4 weeks. They've had exchanges where soldiers had perished. One was like mines, and then the other was shots fired. I guess we'll see. All right, and then also a reminder, if you need any of this information, go over to the website, of course. But big reminder, there's all sorts of great stuff over there. There's also off-grid. If you we haven't talked about these in a while, but a lot of folks have been sending. There was recently a big question whether all of the new systems that were put in place were good for you. A lot of people have been talking about how bad it is having your cell phone near you and everything else. Side thing, if you guys haven't already heard about Off-Grid, they make bags. These are essentially Faraday bags. They make all different kinds, from a backpack that you can basically turn into your 3-day kit that also has a pocket for pretty much everything you own, which not only protects them against external stuff, getting hacked, things like that, But it also protects you from being traced and tracked and monitored and everything else. But it also protects anything going out of that device. So a lot of folks are getting the eDeck wallet and things. A lot of guys get the wallet. It's actually a 3-fold wallet that turns into a cell phone holder. So when you're not using it, you stick your phone in it. But there's also a duffel bag there too. They make all sorts of cool stuff. So again, they used to be called eDeck. Now they're called Off-Grid, and they make some of the highest quality bags out there for to protect your stuff. So if you don't want to be tracked or traced, or if you don't want nasty stuff coming from your phones or devices, then these are a really good answer to that. Go to marfooglenews.com/offgrid. But not to mention, who knows what's going to happen in the future with electromagnetic this or electromagnetic that or fifth generation this. You can protect yourself with that. And then if you haven't already, make sure to go check out our video we just did on this. I'll just briefly touch on this. There's events going on in September. In September, we're going to have a crazy event where something's going to go nova in the sky. There's a star that's going to go nova, and in September, supposedly, you're going to be able to see it with the naked eye. If you want more details, go to this video. Secondary, we talk about Apophis in this video. Dex, again, it was more of... This was more of like, this is like my passion area with my side theory. But what do you think about Apophis coming in 2029 and how the data did change? And they originally said it was going to hit. Then they said, oh, no, it's not. Now it's only a 1% chance it would hit. What do you think about Apophis? I don't think you've talked much about it.
It's pretty convenient, though. It's easy to on one hand say, well, yeah, the more time you look at it, you get better data, so we feel more comfortable that it's not going to hit us. But on the flip side is, if they didn't want to make everyone panic, how would they do that? Well, they would come back and say, well, the data looks different and it's not going to hit us. They would say either way. So in reality, we don't know which answer we can trust. Is it going to hit us or is it not? And I don't even know if that so much matters as the fact that we know there's probably many, many NEO objects out there that haven't even been found yet that have the potential to hit us. And the question is, are we going to find it in time to react to it? And if we do, are we going to inform the public of it? Or are they going to keep it a secret until the last second? I think those are some interesting questions. And the fact that we're investing so much money, time, and effort, whether it be from detection systems to launch systems to nukes in space systems to sampling these asteroids and whatnot, means we know there's an issue. And I think that, most people, they don't look up. They keep their head in the sand on this type of topic. And it will, maybe not in our lifetime, but it could be tomorrow. It actually could happen at any time, and it will eventually affect us all again. And again, it might not be us. It might be our great-grandchildren, or it could be us next week. We just don't know.
I point out my theory in this video, but also I just want to point out every country in the world, you can look, every country in the world is doing space-related missions. Every country in the world is putting away like a Noah's Ark type thing. I mean, Russia, in the middle of this war, something leaked that said that Russia has a Noah's Ark plan. Why would they name it Noah's Ark? And then the media spun it was, oh, well, do you know why they said it? They said at that point, because at that point, everybody still believed that Russia was losing and that Ukraine is valiantly pushing them back and this is going to be over like this and the ghost of Kiev and all of this. They said that this Noah's Ark plan that leaked, this is just like last year, that it was his plan to take all of his important leadership and evacuate if Ukraine started coming right up into Russia and they had to evacuate their country because of this war. Do you believe that? Now that we're far away from this whole time period where everybody thought Ukraine was winning and they're not losing and they're actually valiantly, their willpower's just overcome the Russian military and everybody. Now looking at it, now knowing what we know, and now that the news is admitting that they were losing this whole time and that they're running out of people, all this. What do you think about that leak of the Noah's Ark plan? Russia is also the same country that has a 1,500-foot nuclear tsunami nuke that they say could knock out both of our coastlines. They could do a nuke that sends a radioactive tsunami into the country. What if, that could be true, could be not true, but they say it's a fact in Russia. But also, it's like, would it make sense? All this stuff that's going on in the world, all the wars, all the resource fighting, all of the changes we're about to do, wouldn't it make all of this make more sense if there was an impending event like an asteroid that only the very top knew about? The seeds being stored, every living animal DNA sample being sent to the moon, all of these weird things, the rich and elite buying bunkers and backup golden passports. I mean, like, so much more of this would make sense if there was some sort of secret, right? The truth is always stranger than fiction. I mean, has it not been 100% true? The truth has been stranger than fiction for the last forever. But the last 10 years I've followed this stuff. Now that we have the internet and media and everything else, it turns out that the crazy theories are the truth. It's like we're living in opposite day. It's incredible. But yeah, every country is coming up with some sort of anti-asteroid thing. Every country is going out to asteroids, and their thing is, we're just trying to get money off of them. There's resources on these asteroids. I don't know. Something doesn't sit right with me. If it doesn't sit right with you, watch this video, share it with your friends and family. It might be fun to go over and watch it with your friends or family members. So it's definitely one of these videos where we ask you questions. Now, if you want to watch that video, very easy to find. Just go check it out here. Now it's time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate you very much.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Thank you, Lord McCormick. Thank you, Genius by Birth, my new annuity store. God bless you and Dex. Hey, thank you. Genius by Birth, you are the top supporter tonight. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Captain Morgan, 2311. Thank you, Espiritu. Thank you, J-Girl, that's me. Thank you, Chance, for modding over on D-Live.